Welcome to this edition of Inside City Council. I'm your host, Carvin Eison, and I'm excited to be with you because we're introducing a new partnership with Rochester City Council. We're going to produce a show on a regular basis that explores how our city council, the Rochester City Council, how it works, who are the people that are involved, and just exactly what they do. And on this edition, we have City Council President Loretta Scott. Loretta, welcome to our show.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Tell us a little about yourself.
I am, as you said, Rochester City Council President. I'm a council member at large, but even more importantly, I'm a long time, almost lifetime Rochesterian. I love my city and what I do.
What exactly is the purpose of City Council and what does it do?
We provide checks and balances. There's council and we're the legislative and there's the administrative, which is the mayor's side. We're responsible for approving budgets, for regulating land use, for zoning. Any expenditures over $10,000 come through us, making broad fiscal policies and things of that sort.
Do you like your job?
I love my job.
Yes. How long have you been in your position? You're also a council person at large as well.
I'm a council member at large, and I've been in that role for 5 years. This is the first year of my second term. Our terms are 4 years. This is my first term as council president.
What kind of challenges do we have an administrative side is responsible for, has a set of responsibilities, and the council has a set of responsibilities? How does that play out?
Well, actually, it's more of a situation of checks and balances. There should be no absolute unchecked power. So it doesn't create a challenge as long as there are open lines of communication and rules by which we govern.
Can you give us any examples of some of the things that take place that people wouldn't necessarily realize had to go through City Council in order to become real projects? Like, say, for example, there's a big construction project on the inner loop, and it seems as though every time I go by there's a lot of activity. I imagine an initiative that large would have to go through government, and there would have to be a lot of back and forth and a lot of discussion before that project can be come to any kind of conclusion or fruition, actually.
The first step in anything like that is a plan. In order to have a plan, you have to have a vision about what the plan could produce. And in order to have a vision that people agree on, it takes a lot of community input. So before we even get to the rigors of government, we have the community engagement part, which is one of the reasons we're doing this show. We want people to be knowledgeable and engaged about what City Council does. There are a number of levels and phases which we look forward to going through and explaining as we move forward with Inside City Council.
So any project that's going on now, such as the one discussed, that would have already been approved by City Council years ago, a long time ago.
The concept, the vision, the concept, the plan, and then of course the funding would have been obtained through various means, whether state or federal government, and that would have had to come through council in order for the contracts to be let.
So City Council does not generate the idea. City Council approves the idea and finds the mechanisms by which the idea moves forward.
We typically do not generate ideas, but we do on occasion. We usually, I used to say the mayor's office proposes and City Council disposes. Most of the efforts come out of administration into council for approval.
Now, as a Rochester resident, you said near lifetime Rochester resident,
Yeah.
I imagine you have built and a lot of relationships. You serve on various boards and various community activities. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
I serve on fewer than I did. Right now, I'm serving on the Action for a Better Community Foundation Board, having served on the Action for a Better Community Board for about 20 plus years and chaired that board for
So that would almost
most of
be
that.
about since the beginning of the that organization, right?
No,
No?
The beginning was 50 years ago.
Oh, okay. So we want to be clear about that.
Absolutely.
You haven't been
This
around
is
that
an
long.
anniversary year for the agency.
Right. And as a resident, your family is here and you're involved in various things. Give us a sense of your
Yes.
profile.
I am a mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother.
Okay.
I am that. I'm very proud of that. I'm active with my church. Most of my children and grandchildren are here. The other more extended family members are basically here.
So you have a real commitment to Rochester. Your
Total.
roots are deeply in Rochester.
Total.
So, but you weren't here your whole life.
I was born in Alabama.
In Alabama. And you came to Rochester.
When I was like 6, 7, 8.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
Wow.
It's longer than I can remember.
Wow. Well, we're going to take a break in just about a minute. And when we come back, I'd really like to maybe get into the structure of City Council, the number of members and what the terms are, and the various projects that are maybe on the table now or things that people can be looking for. So please stay with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. This is Carvin Eison inside City Council, Rochester Community Television.
I love the Maplewood Rose Garden. It's one of my favorite places. I love it because it's close. It's very easy to get to, and there are hundreds of varieties of roses that I can come out and enjoy at my leisure.
Welcome back. This is Carvin Eison. I'm your host for Inside City Council, and we're here again with City Council President Loretta Scott. Loretta, before the break, we were talking about the structure and membership of City Council and the difference between district membership and at-large membership. Explain that for us.
The 9-member council consists of 5 at-large members and 4 district members. The at-large members represent the city as a whole without regard to geographic boundaries. Those members are Carolee Conklin, Dana Miller, Matthew Haig, Jackie Ortiz, and myself. We're at large. The district members represent a particular geographic area. The Northwest is represented by Carla Palumbo. The Northeast is represented by Michael Patterson. The South is represented by Adam McFadden. And the East is represented by Elaine Spall. They are the eyes and ears of the residents in those particular geographic areas. They also, of course, deal with citywide issues, but they're particularly attuned to those things that concern people in their particular district.
Give our listeners and our viewers an example, if you can, of a neighborhood issue, an issue that would be more important within a district in contrast to an issue that would be more reflective of the larger community.
Zoning comes up often, although it's citywide. It's very district impactful because it's your neighborhood. The whole issue of corner stores, for example, there's a higher concentration in some areas than in others, and the citizens in those areas want their district representative to do something about it. They want the numbers decreased, or they want the hours shortened, or they want what it takes to make their neighborhood more livable to them. So it may be more of an issue in one neighborhood than in another, but that's where the district council members are on their game and seeing to it that we focus on that.
What will people want to know? If after people watch this show, and we come here every week, you're going to be sitting in this chair every week, what will people know different than they know now about City Council?
What I hope they'll know is one of our most important jobs is to provide checks and balances. The administration proposes a lot of legislation that helps the government to run. That's their job. They do that. Our job is to make sure that it's fiscally prudent, that it's consistent with the city charter, that it actually provides the things that our citizens need on an overall basis. They will know that we're responsible for authorizing the budget, that nothing costing more than $10,000 can be spent without our approval. They'll know that we're responsible for authorizing land use, that we can't convert something from a park to a commercial building without our approval, and in that case, the approval of many others. There are many roles and responsibilities that council has that I'm hoping our constituents will know more about once we complete this show.
Okay, so are there, in any relationship, there are sometimes challenges and there are tensions. Does there sometime come a point when there are things that the administration may want to do but cannot afford to do, and there are you have to intercede in some way and, as you said, check and balance that? How does that work?
When the administration proposes an expenditure, for example, associated with a program or an operation, if we don't feel that that is consistent with the City of Rochester's goal, that we should not be operating that particular kind of activity, then our job is to engage them in conversation and understand what is their rationale and basis. If they can satisfactorily answer those questions, then perhaps we would go ahead and authorize it. So we do keep the lines of communication open so that we can clear up those what could be conflicts, but are often simply a matter of getting more clarity.
This is a perfect transition into role. Now, I imagine a lot of people think that you run City Council, but that is not really what you do, is it?
No. Some people think that City Council members report to me. I've had someone to call and say, well, I want you to make him do this or that. And the fact of it is, each of us is elected in our own right. We run for election and we engage the constituents in a way that they support us and vote for us. So we stand on our own. My job is to help us to operate effectively as one voice as we interact with the administration. As I said, there are 9 of us, so you can't have 9 people talking to one mayor. We have to have a single point of communication so that, as I mentioned earlier, communication is key. So my job is to make sure those channels stay open, that our message is clear, that I can facilitate and convene where there are those challenges and potential conflicts.
So are all districts equal? Are there different challenges in different districts? I imagine that there are.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So
Each
for
district,
example?
well, I think the concentration of poverty, and people talk about the crescent, of course. You know that the Northeast is particularly
Where Rochester Community TV is located.
Absolutely. I've had occasion to have particular concerns about areas of the Southwest, which is divided between a couple of these. But each of the districts has within it some things that are more intrinsic to it than perhaps to others. And the council person for that district provides the eyes and ears for them and brings that back to council as a whole.
All right. I think this is a good time for us to take a break. So we'll take a pause and recollect around the 3rd segment. All right? Please stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. We have the pleasure of having Loretta Scott, President of City Council, and we'll be right back.
My favorite place in Rochester is Brooks Landing. It takes advantage of our historic assets, the river, the 19th Ward neighborhood, the Plymouth Exchange neighborhood, and brings new businesses, new buildings, and new vitality to the area. You should come down and take a look for yourself.
Welcome back. This is Carvin Eison, and we're inside City Council. And I'm here with City Council President Loretta Scott, and we're here talking about how our City Council works. A lot of people don't even know that City Council meets regularly, like weekly almost, or monthly. Tell us about that process. How often does City Council meet? Where can people come?
The council meets once a month. The full council meets once a month, and it's usually on a Tuesday. It's always on a Tuesday, except in rare occasions. Our meetings start at 7:30, but there is a speak to council period from 6:30 to 7:30 where anyone can call ahead and get on a list to speak to council about anything that they want to present to us. Or
are you all ever really moved by those things for real?
Absolutely.
When people say things?
We certainly are. And not only are we moved by it, what we do when people speak, we follow up on the concerns and comments that they make, if nothing other than to write them and thank them for coming. Oftentimes, though, we will do our own investigation, if you will, into what they've offered as a concern and see if we can resolve it. So it's a very important part of the governmental process for us to hear, learn, listen, react.
So I imagine you would encourage people to come, even if there is not a specific issue in their area, but just to be more aware of how the government works, how the city council actually works.
We do encourage people to come sit in on the meetings, get a feel for the flow of the meeting. One of the things that people don't seem to understand, though, is although we have a full council meeting once a month, that's not the only time that we meet. They're always amazed that we can vote 9-0 on most of the materials. Oh, they're just rubber stamping. Not so. There have been extensive discussions, dialogues, questions, inquiries on every single item on our agenda. So we want people to know how that process works. Come to our committee meetings. There's often lively discussion even at our committee meetings,
The
which are
meeting
held.
behind the meeting.
Yes, the meeting before the meeting. It's the Thursday before the following Tuesday, where the full meeting would be held.
Well, in this new initiative that we have, this partnership between City Council and Rochester Community Television, as people tune in, as residents tune in week after week or month after month, what are they going to see? Who are they going to meet? Tell us some of the things that, some of the ideas that will be expressed on this show.
What I'm hoping we will be able to present is a better understanding of how each of us, me and my colleagues, function as their representatives, talking with them about the things that are important to us, and they're important to us because we believe that they're important to them, and how we are moving and acting to impact those conditions or situations on their behalf.
People are very often cynical about government, and I'm sure I don't have to tell you that, right?
Right.
And people sometimes are cynical about government for a good reason, because they feel that their personal involvement, their vote, what they bring to the table is not really valued, not really looked at in any kind of real way. What can you say to potential viewers of this show that would encourage them that their participation is valuable?
I can say that they should be assured that we do not operate in a vacuum. Every action we take is with the knowledge and consideration of what we've been asked to do by our constituents. We can't say that we're doing exactly what John Smith said to do, but they can be assured that the collection of information that we've received, that we hear at neighborhood meetings, that are delivered to us during Speak to Council, are all a part of what we use in basing the actions that we take on their behalf, that they do make a difference.
This is really important, because even in my capacity, I come in contact with the public, and we try to gauge where people are and see what they're interested in. But people, by and large, are interested in what is going to improve their life.
Absolutely,
right? That's
yes.
what people really want to know. Are the schools going to be better? Are they going to, first of all, are they going to have a job? Are they going to have a home? Is there going to be safety and security? The school system, et cetera. Are there initiatives, and maybe you can't go into this wasn't a question that we had planned, but are there discussions on council that address these kind of issues? And I don't mean necessarily in a public forum, but you guys obviously have to be concerned about the quality of life and the ability of residents to sustain a meaningful life here.
We have sort of distilled that into what we're calling our priority plan, because what we found, the things that are most important to people and the things that we as a council need to focus on are deficit reduction and long-term financial stability. If the city is in debt, we can't operate. We have to have the funds to do that. We can't spend beyond our means. That's a consideration. We need to create and sustain a culture of vibrancy. It has to be a place that somebody wants to live, not that they have to live, but they want to live. So the downtown events, the festivals and things of that sort are very, very important. We want to see that continue. Public safety is always at the top of people's list. So as the administration sends over proposals, we need to know that those proposals are going to address the concerns that people have. Okay? Rebuilding and strengthening neighborhood housing. Living in a safe, affordable, decent dwelling is very important to all of us. We want to ensure that our citizens have that. Jobs and economic development, and I'm the jobs champion on City Council because we talk about poverty and the high levels of it, but the best way out of poverty is a good job and generating income. So we focus on that as well. And finally, we support the creation of effective educational systems.
Well, this has been wonderful, very eye-opening for me, and it's not often that I get a chance to have a meaningful conversation about substantive issues with city officials. And this, I hope, has also been eye-opening for our audience. I will say to our audience that this is the kickoff of a new show, and we will be coming to you at least once a month with a new show, but weekly you'll have an opportunity to see a repeat of the same show. So we invite you to stay tuned, to really pay attention to what's going on in our government, at our city council, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon. And thank you, President Scott, for being here.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.